So today we have a common but equally disturbing question from one of our friends who says he wants to start his life all over again. He says that he's experiencing in his life this inability to handle criticism. He says that every time someone yells at him, a boss or so forth, he freezes and blacks out. He can't really speak up and assert himself in any particular way, either at work, at school, with friends, with girlfriends. People just seem to walk all over him. Here's the strange thing. He's about 6'4". He's a big dude, but yet he's like a big baby in many ways. He's saying that he just can't get along in circumstances where he has to man up, I guess you would say. And he goes on to describe his childhood, and I think that's why this is a really critical question to deal with. And the reason why I say that it's disturbing, because when I read your story, my friend, I realized that there's a significant reason why, and I'm sure you're aware of this, reason why you hold yourself so poorly, why you carry yourself with such a lack of vigor, vitality, and strength and ability to be yourself and to stand your ground in a world that will step all over you if you can't do that. He says that he grew up in a home where his parents constantly fought and were very violent with each other. His earliest memories are sitting in a couch and watching his parents just tear at each other. And he says this went on his entire life. I don't understand why these people stayed together, but essentially he says he just spent his entire life being almost a referee, peeling his parents off of each other. He has younger siblings, and he had to be the protector in the home in many ways because he had to protect his mother from his father and vice versa because he was the oldest, the biggest one. He had to physically become engaged with this violence in his home. And you could just imagine as a small child, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, to have people screaming and shouting and attacking each other in your midst. And you're there vulnerable, with an inability to even understand what's going on because your world is flooded with violence. It's shaking and quaking all around you, and you feel as if you need to do something, but you just don't know what the fuck to do. Just imagine you're 9 years old and you're experiencing this. What do you do? But this is the way he grew up, and now as a 6'4", 23-year-old man, he goes out into the world and he's a doormat. The very first thing I'd like to do is briefly describe the nature of what you've experienced physiologically. A lot of the ideas I'm going to share with you right now come from Robert Scarry in a fantastic book called The Body Bears the Burden. And you know how much I'm enrolled in the idea that the body is the mind. And my friend, the way you're carrying your body, the way you're breathing, the way you are being from the neck down is something that we need to consider far more than what new stories we can tell ourselves. The experiences that you've had have already happened, but they're trapped in your body and they're trapped in the way you're expressing yourself and the lack of ability to express yourself that you're experiencing. Here's how this happens to us all. In some way, shape, or form, physiologically. Trauma, loosely defined by Scarry, is experiencing an event that is threatening in the face of your own vulnerability, meaning some crazy shit just happened and you can't do anything about it. So this could be from being 9 years old and your parents are tearing it at each other, attacking each other, and you're a kid. What are you gonna do? You can't fight, you can't run, so you freeze. Or it could be as severe as being sexually molested as a child, seeing someone killed in front of you when you were very young. It could be absolutely anything that was hurtful in the face of vulnerability. And that second half, in the face of vulnerability, is very important because most of the trauma that we carry with ourselves in adulthood come from when we were most vulnerable. That's when we were children. And what ends up happening, and I'll describe broadly and then go specific, what ends up happening is we carry in our bodies, in our implicit memory. So when I say our body, I'm referring to our implicit memory, body memory. The same sort of body memory that allows you to ride a bike even if you haven't ridden a bike in 20 years. The same sort of body memory that allows you to walk. You don't have to remind yourself how to walk again. The same sort of body memory that when you smell fresh baked cookies, you remember grandma. These are all things that are not explicit. They're not declarative memory. You don't have to pick it out of the Rolodex of your memory. It's in your body. And the experiences that we have, specifically when we are vulnerable, when we're in a vulnerable state, has the capacity, has a tremendous capacity to become trapped in our implicit memory, in our body, in our unconscious or our peripheral nervous system. These are all interchangeable words to describe the intelligence in your body that is not declarative. The intelligence that beats your heart, digests your food, grows a baby inside you. You have to understand, you have to appreciate, you have to at least consider, if you're the type that wants to dismiss many of the ideas that I share in these videos, that there is a significant, they say that they've used this example of the iceberg, and that just the tip of the iceberg is what we can declare as our consciousness. And then everything else is our unconscious. If you look at our bodies, it's basically the same way. This is the tip of the iceberg. Down here is the meat of the issue. Our peripheral nervous system, our emotion, the implicit memory, all these things are found down in the 90% that we don't declare. So again, that was very broad, but specifically I want to describe what happens to you, my friend, physiologically, when you experience your parents, your world, tearing itself apart when you were in a vulnerable state as a child. You have a response called a sympathetic response to any threat, and it's called fight or flight. You've heard this before, when you're posed with a threat, you'll either fight or you'll flight, you'll run. Those are the two things that are typically at your disposal when there is a threat. You'll go crazy or you'll and run. But there's a third response that we've come to know very well, and is very scientifically documented, and it's called the freeze response. The freeze response is very, very, very critical to the trapping, and I use this term trapping, that's my word, the trapping or the embedding of the trauma into your implicit memory. Here's why. The fight or flight response is sympathetic, meaning that it's very active. You can run or you can fight. It's stress related and it's active. The freeze is very parasympathetic, meaning you stop completely. You freeze or you go into the processes that are less active, less expressively active in your body. So your parasympathetic branch of your nervous system slows down your heart rate. It slows down your breathing. It helps you digest. Your entire digestive system is run by this branch of your nervous system. It's all the resting type stuff. The thing is about that parasympathetic branch of our nervous system is, as I described, it's found in our body. Implicit memory is found in our body once again. So here you have a situation where you're experiencing a freeze response, and I guarantee this is what happened. Your parents are attacking each other and you're like, because that's what a 9-year-old is, it's available to the 9-year-old to do when there's a threat and you're vulnerable. What are you going to do? You just sat there and you watched. When you were in that freeze response, it's a very interesting thing. What they've discovered is that it's not just a passive freezing, right? Because there's a difference between resting. A true parasympathetic behavior would be sleeping, right? Resting. That's truly parasympathetic. Sympathetic is rah! A freeze looks like this. It's an active stopping of the physiological responses in your body. Meaning, you want to run and you want to fight, you want to do this. and run and get out of there because it's a fucking mess in the house. But you can't because there's a simultaneous stimulation of the parasympathetic branch of your nervous system that makes you freeze. So you know what it's likened onto? It's likened onto driving a car, getting into a car, putting your foot on the accelerator, and the other foot on the brake. So imagine you put the car in drive, you step on the accelerator and the brake at the same time, right? You know what it looks like? There's a lot of shit going on, but you can't move. Once again, let me remind you that parasympathetic branch of the nervous system that forces you not to move, that is like the brake on the sympathetic response or the accelerator, is where implicit memory is stored. What that means is all that would have typically happened in this fight or flight response is going on physiologically in your body. You are releasing adrenaline and cortisol. The whole HPA axis thing is happening. And your implicit memory is absorbing it all because you're frozen. You've got the parasympathetic and the sympathetic going on at the same time. And one is going nuts. The other one that is stopping it from going nuts is absorbing the craziness. I hope you see how profound that is. How much of an incredible discovery this is. And how with this understanding we can confidently move in the direction of releasing the trauma in your body. What happens in that freeze response is a number of things, but overriding all of the more specific things that we'll talk about in a moment is a form of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. You're fucking helpless, right? What are you gonna do? You can't do anything. This is an evolutionary response, by the way, that is very, very, very primal, meaning that animals do the same thing. And this is how these ideas were first discovered by Peter Levine. He'd watch animals in the wild, and if they were attacked in a situation where there's nothing that they could do, like a deer, right, being attacked by a predator, oftentimes the deer would just, if it got tapped by the predator, it would just lay there. Now it's not dead yet, but it won't fucking move. It won't help itself. Part of the reason why it does that and why we do that is because it's self-protection. Because if the animal decided to get up and fight back or run, the tiger's gonna be like, haha, fuck you, I gotcha. As opposed to sometimes the predator will just sniff around and be like, fuck you, and walk away, or just figure you're dead and then just drag you back to wherever it wanted to go, and maybe it turns its back for a moment and then you can get up and run. This is all very primal. This is all happening at a base level, meaning the base of our skull, the medulla, the reptilian complex of the brain, your brain stem, so on and so forth. The limbic system also is highly involved here because the amygdala is the part of the brain that stores that implicit memory. Okay? That's part of the limbic system. So what do you do, my friend? Now you're 23 years old. You've got this trauma trapped in your body, in your the parasympathetic branch of your nervous, or your I keep saying that, but I mean the central and peripheral, the peripheral nervous system, your body. It's trapped in your body. It's how you're breathing. The way you're breathing is associated with that trapped trauma. The way you're walking is associated with the trapped trauma. The way your eyes look, when you look someone in the eyes or your lack of ability thereof, it is a form of the implicit memory trapped in your body due to the severe, repetitive trauma you experienced as a child. So what do you do? Do you talk about it? Do you think about it? You know what? One of the things that I used to think was available to us, just toughen up, just get over it. Toughen up and get over it, right? Easier said than done, and I know this because a lot of my language sounds that way, but I'm very empathetic for all of this because I have a deep understanding of what goes on physiologically and what needs to actually be done to get over yourself, Get over that freeze response. Get over the implicit trauma you're carrying with yourself. Sometimes you just need to man the fuck up and do something. But doing something means physically doing something. Sometimes you are trapped in a traumatic state and it's just a matter of, look, the only way you're gonna get out of that fucking fog, that depression, is if you just shut up and do something. A lot of times we wanna talk. Talking and thinking about shit is all declarative. I'm saying go implicit, motherfucker. Get in your body and do something. What do you do? Let's go home for a moment, because that's always my very first invitation. Come home to yourself, meaning get by yourself or get with a really skilled trauma release therapist or bioenergetic coach to work you through what physical actions need to be taken to get the trauma out of your physical body. The type of therapy I describe and invite you to engage in, study for yourself. I give you plenty of resources here. And to find professionals to support you with are not about talking. It's not about thinking. It's about doing. It's about getting into your body and allowing the demons, if you will, exercise, right? Think about that word. Exercise the demons out of your nervous system. Exercise is movement. You've got to do getting the demons out. Of course, it's a metaphor, right? I say demons, but it's trapped trauma. It's trapped emotions. And when you come home to this, it's going to be scary. It's going to be confusing. Again, like I say, it's an ongoing process. So study, find mentors to support you this way. Watch my videos. I steer you guys in this direction. These are the directions that have supported me in my life, and that's why I share them with you through these videos. I'm not trying to prove anything here. Everything I share with you is something that has been of support to me. And when I hear your issues, I hear your problems, I hear your concerns, all I can offer is, here's how I've dealt with it. What this therapy looks like, what this exercise looks like, is very much what some of the craziest shit you've seen me do on video, which is throwing temper tantrums. The best way to start is with the fucking temper tantrum. You need to allow yourself to completely release through a temper tantrum. Get on your bed, start moving your head side to side, and arms up and down, and legs up and down, and let the sounds associated with it carry you to where you need to go. You might break down into tears. You might break out into an expression of confusion, fear. Don't judge it. Don't think about it. Don't try to rationalize it. Allow the thing to happen in your body. Your body is intelligent. Watch from afar. Watch as if you are an onlooker, and see yourself going through the trauma. You'll get up afterwards and you'll just feel like you took a shower that cleansed your soul. Don't judge it. If you're objective enough about yourself, like I am, obviously, to watch yourself go through this shit, you will end up on the other end when you get up after, you'll be tired afterwards. But you'll get up and you'll feel as if you're floating on air because you've released all the tension in your muscular system that's holding you back from saying yes to life and no when you should put your foot down. Those are really the two things you need to gain back. But if you've got muscular tension associated with the implicit memory of trauma, you're not going to be able to say yes with all of your yes, and you're not going to be able to say no with all of your no. You're going to be someone who's pushed around and stepped on and used as a doormat for the rest of your life, my friend. So that's it. Take some time to understand the nature of all of our pathology, and it's all neuropathology, just to be a part of this civilization. Just to live in this machinery, to be a part of this matrix, our nervous systems had to be damaged. And I'm not judging it as good or bad. I'm saying that we're all experiencing forms of trauma that does not allow us to be the strongest version of ourselves. Some more potent than others. Yours, my friend, is very obvious and very potent, which makes it easy for you to go right to the root of what's holding you back from becoming the strongest version of yourself. Study my resources. I'm in the midst of putting together a book, not because I need to sell a book, but because I need to put all these ideas into one place so that I can say to you, read my book. Read it, because all my resources are in there. All the ideas that have supported me in becoming the strongest version of myself, including what I happen to find to be the most important key, the cornerstone, the foundation to becoming the strongest version of yourself. And that is dealing with the psychological, emotional, energetic, if you will, processes of the individual. There's hope for you, my friend. There's great hope for you, but you're going to need some courage. And you're going to need to deal with the demons that you're carrying with yourself. And you got to recognize that you can't talk about it, you can't think about it, you got to do it. You got to exercise it. Carry these words with you. Never give up on yourself. Continuously grow stronger. If it's digging yourself out of a hole or climbing a mountain, you're always on the move to bigger and better and stronger versions of ourselves. Grow stronger, my friends. Done.